Hi, it's Spinan. Today I'm going to tell you my truth. I haven't played any of Final Fantasy VII titles. Yes, I'm sorry. When I was a child, my first console was a Sega, and I was in love. Then I jumped into Nintendo, but the only game I could think of was Super Metroid. I spent thousands of hours in that game, I was so addicted. Then I jumped into PlayStation. I played a lot of games, but for some reason, when Final Fantasy VII games came to PlayStation 1, I was kinda close to my favorite genre: stealth, strategy, action, and horror games. Even though Final Fantasy VII games have strategy, the aspect that killed the game for me was the combat system. For example, when I enter battle mode, I always have to set it fast, and even in that way, I just can't stand it. Look, I enjoy being patient, but why I have to get into this more stylized 3D screen when I enter battle mode, and why is so random? I couldn't handle these fights, and why in the world the enemy has to wait until I decided to attack or aim for them? I was confused and mad as a kid, so I never fell for the big commercials and deals even with Pepsi. But I wasn't blind to the massive success that Final Fantasy VII was. My friends were all over talking about how great the game was, but I didn't feel like it. Right now, I'm eating my words. So they'll have to wait until the year 2015, when the remake was announced. I remember saying, why people are suddenly crying about this game, it's not a big deal. I was so wrong. And again, it wasn't mentioned the next year and the year after. But they didn't know they were going to wait for 4 years. So back in the days, most of the fans thought they decided to cancel the game. It wasn't mentioned at all, and fans were losing any hope. But finally, the reveal trailer comes in 2019. It was real. And I remember saying, wow, there's no way this game is coming out. It looks like a huge game. But the announced date was there, April 2020. And it was amazing, not gonna lie. I was attracted, seeing how they created this oddly world with two plates, one above another. You could see a lot of history and characters, something was very attractive. So my game senses was telling me to give it a try. The fans were so excited about it, and some dudes just couldn't believe it. In fact, one of the biggest reasons I got into the game was Max. When I saw him explaining about his favorite game and the reason behind it, I said to myself, did I just miss a great game? I wondered. So I have to thank him for transmitting all the enthusiasm, not just for the people, but developers too. Now, as a newcomer, I want to say so much things, and I have a lot of questions that I don't even know where to start. Well, how could I fall in love with this game? At the start, I can't even pass the first screen from the menu. I immediately feel the connection between a sword stuck in the ground and the music that was telling me so much things about the war and a world full of life but desperate for getting out of something. Even made me feel a nostalgia that I haven't even lived before. So after I cried for 2 minutes, I was ready to play the game. In the first sequence of the story, I felt I was missing something. I was wondering what's up with this girl and those flowers, then immediately got immersed into the city, Midgard, asking me what's this thing in the middle, how does it work, how the city works, how does it look so industrial and weird. And then the famous train sequence where the characters appear. The only thing I understand is I was a soldier, and it's a big deal for some reason. Apparently you make a deal where you exchange your soul or something like that to be one of them. And then the visions from a war hero called Zephyrus, from which we know nothing about. By the way, I listened to every orchestra to the One-Winged Man. I love that masterpiece. Well, let's jump to what are my favorite things that make this remake my favorite game of all time. One of the greatest things about this remake, the character development. Every one of them is so reliable that made me care for all of them. I rarely remember the names of characters in game, but I'll say Cloud, Tifa, Barret, Jessie, Biggs and Wedge are names for me to remember, at least until the next part comes. So we have this group called Avalanche. They're trying to keep the planet safe from Shinra, the organization that created the city called Midgar, but they're constantly taking the energy from the planet. And for them, that energy is so essential for all living creatures in the world that they have to stop them. In order to accomplish their goal, they would need to blow some reactors, who store energy to the city. The difficulty is too high, so they hire Cloud Strife, a first-class soldier. Cloud is so cold. This is understandable because he left his home when he was a teenager. In his mind and his eyes, everything is war. For some unknown reason, he left the army, and now he's trying to get money and making contracts. But there's something else. He's always having these visions about his past, the future, I don't really know, so he's constantly fighting against his mind. Another big point to these games is the voice acting. It's so well executed in every one of them. As I know, there were no voices in the original, so I have to know what are your thoughts from the fans in this remake. And don't even make me talk how sweet it is to hear the conversations between Barret and Marlene, his daughter. Oh man, that's lovely.
But if I stay here, I can't fight out there.
The second most important part for the story involves these two sides, Avalanche and Shinra. The first one, a revolutionary group. They have several factions, and one of them is trying to blow the reactors located at the upper plate of the city. They want to stop Shinra from taking the energy from the planet. While for Shinra, they are only terrorists, who are trying to stop the city to the progress and take the world into chaos. But that's not it. There's so much stuff happening at the same time. For example, some dementors that suddenly keeping you from doing things. Kinda annoying, I'll say. But for some reasons, they're not bad, or are they? Apparently, the planet is trying to communicate with you. The only answer is the second part of the remake, I wish. Now let's look at the other side of the story. And we have Shinra. They're trying to make things done too, but in a complete different way, as you'll see in the story. So they're trying to use Avalanche members in order to get their plans done. And these characters well presented as well, from President Shinra to Reno, Ruth and Scarlet, all ruled by Shinra Company. Other important character is Aerith. The girl seems to know something about Cloud, like she knew she was going to meet him. She has great powers, and some secrets that you'll get to know, but I feel like she's a very important character in the future parts. But again, we don't know yet. Moving on to the next thing, I love the combat system. It's so enjoyable, faster and not turn-based, thank God. We have combos 1, 2 and 3 party fights, and another building addition, the materia, with which you can enhance your weapons to face the combat from several ways. You can go melee, ranged and magic. And another great addition to this game, the summoning materia. Oh my god, the animation on this is above everything I saw. Also, the enemies, some are good and some are less good, but I love to fight and kill these big machines, like the Mechanic Craft or some Airbuster. Man, I love the combat now. There's some issues with the camera, especially combat, and in enclosed spaces. They have to fix these things, of course. Another good point, the graphics, and especially the lighting. It's so well done. And of course, you'll see we desperately need another generation right now. This game screams that. And how to forget the famous retro door. We need its textures to load in the next part, please. There are some bad takes too, like watching the slums from Reactor 5. I'll tell you, this is a flat texture. It doesn't look good at all, but for the most part it looks good. The point I have an special opinion is the music. Look, I love the music, I get to play the guitar and drums, and I love orchestra. I'm the kind of person who cries listening to this music. I recommend you to listening to the Witcher 3 orchestra. Oh my god, I love that piece of art. Anyways, I think in every combat, in every new sector you discover or any part of the story, it's so well composed that I have to get to know who is the master behind this composition. And I'm like a big fan of Mr. Koji Kondo, Mr. Nobu Uematsu. For the most part of the music, I owe you a comment. And for the final part, I want to mention the storytelling. It's probably one of the greatest that I played. Developed from the characters to the world. It's so well designed, like I want to visit there in VR, please. Lots of emotions, clash of classes, ambition, the dark past of a soldier, and so much characters that you get to know that you'll simply love this game. I don't want to spoil the rest because I want you to buy the game and then tell me how you like it. But there's so much open doors left that I don't have any idea where it's going to take. Don't want to spoil the whole story, so please go and play the game. I want to do some videos about the ending because it's getting me so much things in the air. There's so much to be said, funny moments, extra goofy characters, minigames, and I like how every person has something to say after every sequence of the game. You can tell the difference between sectors, and I like these chocobo and Moogle creatures, which can feel a little odd sometimes. I want to know what the original Final Fantasy VII thinks about the game. Do you like it? You don't? And where do you think the story is going? Because I know a lot is left off for us to know. So that's it for this video. I hope you like it. Don't forget to make love and not war. See you next week.